Hi, everyone. Welcome. And thank you for joining us at the Canadian Immigrant Virtual Fair for Eastern Canada. The fair is being sponsored by the Bank of Montreal, BMO. We're thrilled to have you all join us and hope that you're enjoying the fair so far. So, my name is Ramya Ramanathan. I'm the editor of Canadian Immigrant, and I'm joined by my colleagues Laura Jackman, Ricky Bajaj, and Sanjay Agnihotri. So, we welcome you to this closing panel session. The topic is the road to success is paved with soft skills. In this panel discussion, we'll be speaking with experts on their different perspectives on the importance of soft skills in finding career success. Soft skills are personal attributes that you will have to build on. These include communication skills, teamwork, listening skills, time management, and many others. So I'd like to thank Alma, Arzate, Catherine Steele, Murthy, and Sujaykumar Vardhmane for joining me here today to speak with you. So during this discussion, we'll ask each speaker questions relevant to their work. And this will be followed by a general question or two to panelists for information from their perspective. And then finally, we'll open the floor to everyone so you can ask questions. And you can put in your questions in the in the Q&A box that's on the right side of the screen. And if we don't get to your questions, you can email us at info@canadianimmigrant.ca. So please note that this session is being recorded and will be made available. So let's get started. Our first speaker is Alma Arzate. Alma is the Global Director, Supply Planning at Apotex. She's been a keynote speaker and panelist for many universities, colleges, associations, and immigrant settlement organizations. With 2 decades of experience across global supply chain and operations, it's a thrill to have her here today. I'm just going to say that we featured Alma in our spring issue of the magazine as a woman of inspiration. So that's when I first met her, and I've been inspired by her ever since. So welcome, Alma.
Thank you, Ramya. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So our first question is, when you shared your experiences for the Women of Inspiration feature in spring 2020, you talked about challenges and frustrations that you had to face on your road to building a thriving career. Can you talk to them and how you dealt with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me start with I recall one of the key challenges that I had to overcome at the beginning of my career was a challenge that is shared amongst many females, which was related to my male coworkers taking my ideas during meetings, repackaging them, presenting them again, and getting the recognition like if they were the ones that had the ideas all along. So as you can imagine, Ramya, this situation was quite frustrating. So after some soul searching, I decided to take some accountability and change my approach. So first of all, I tried to connect with some of my peers before the meetings so I could try to garner their support, actively listen to try to understand what their concerns could be about my ideas so I could be more prepared to address them. Now, if during the meeting someone challenged me, I tried to avoid becoming defensive and try to remain open-minded, consider that they might have a point, So I took a moment to gather myself, try to bring more facts to the table and make my case. So if my idea was still not accepted, I didn't dwell on it or second guess myself. I just, shelved it for the time being and kept moving ahead. So something else that Ramya did, I thought it was important was to learn to substitute tentative words with something that we call muscle words. So for example, instead of using I agree, I use I agree completely because, or from, well, I tend to agree to that's absolutely right and here's why. So that another matter, like another, I would say, aspect that helped me find the courage to speak up was thinking that there were likely other people around the table that were also having similar thoughts, but they were not very willing to voice them. So I tried to picture myself as advocating on behalf of others when I spoke up. So it was quite funny because it got to a point where at town hall meetings, when senior managers finished talking and the presentations were over and they opened the floor for questions, After a few uncomfortable moments of silence, they would look around the room, find me in the room, and said, Alma, we're sure you have a question or two. So, I was known as the person that wasn't afraid to ask the first question, because once you open the floor, there are other peers join and ask their own questions. So,
Great.
one last point. So, as I already mentioned, we need to recognize that men have ways to neatly repackage other people's ideas. They restate and they amplify what we just said. So, as frustrating as it was at the beginning, I learned to take a page from their books and actually develop a similar strategy. So, let me give you my secret there. So, I took an idea that was already being tossed around the table, repackaged it, added my own twist to it, and serve it back up. So what I was doing, that I also made sure to give the person that had the original idea some of the credit by saying, as so and so said, and then building my point on top. And I have to say that worked really well. So
okay, great.
That's just a brief summary.
That's great. And I'm just going to say thank you for being so straightforward, because I know there are a lot of men in the audience as well, but this is your personal experience, and I'm very happy that you're sharing this with us. I have a question for you, but I'm going to wait till the end, or I'm going to message you separately.
Sure.
So my next question is, can you speak more generally about your experience immigrating to Canada, and what attributes served you well on this settlement journey?
Well, that's a kind of a loaded question, Ramya, because that was a long immigration journey, but I'm going to make a very long story short. Since I was a child, I have always been very curious. I love learning. So I saw moving to a new country as a challenge that, although I didn't have all the answers for, I was sure that I was resourceful enough to find a way to overcome. And of course, there were days that were much more difficult than others, but I try to always keep a positive attitude and focus on the reasons that brought me here. For example, and I'm sure around the audience, you were empathized with this reason, is providing a safe environment for my children to grow up in. So at work, some of the traits that I believe served me well were initiative, drive for results, continuous improvement mindset, perseverance, communication, collaboration, high sense of urgency, problem solving, and the last but not least, collaboration. So I work every day on trying to clearly communicate opinions and ideas verbally and writing, try to collaborate well with other people, build positive and strong relationships, never be satisfied with the status quo. I was always looking for ways to continuously improve processes, systems, people. And I basically became known as someone that could be relied upon in high pressure situations. Hence, I have to say that very challenging projects starting to be assigned to me by senior management. And although it was a bit of a risky proposition, Ramya, I kept saying yes to all of them and tried to figure out a way to deliver the results. Trying to keep an open mind, be grateful when managers or peers offer constructive feedback so I could continue to keep growing professionally. And I believe these traits really helped me integrate into this new culture, new company, new team quite effectively. Now with all my share of challenges, I'm not saying that everything was rosy, right? But I mean, I still have my share of challenges and I had to put in the hard work. But all in all, a good experience that allowed me to take on more and more responsibilities as time went by.
Great, thank you. My next question was going to be about finding your voice as a female in a male-dominated industry, but I think you've answered that quite comprehensively already. Is there anything else you want to add in a few seconds about other learnings you would like to share?
Well, only one, and there's something a bit of a watch out for my fellow women in the audience. So, as women, you have to learn how to balance your level of passion, because too much passion, and it might be misconstrued as too emotional or less rational. But being too deadpan makes you make your message go unheard, and it can be quite uninspiring. So, you want other people to perceive you as composed and in command of your emotions. So just try to be watchful of your tone, your pitch, your timing, and your body language.
Alma, thank you so much. That was really insightful. So
Thank
next
you.
up, we have Catherine Steele. Catherine is a speaker, coach, and consultant. who trains corporate teams and individuals on the clear speaking skills necessary to be competitive in today's global marketplace. Her experience coaching over 7,000 clients on pronunciation for personal and professional success have made her one of the most sought after speakers on pronunciation in Canada. Catherine, thank you for joining us. I believe you have a presentation and you'll be sharing a few key tips on communication skills. So feel free to share your presentation. We have a couple of questions for you about key tips to be clear communicators and why you believe communication skills are important. So I'm sure you'll cover that in your presentation. So please go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you. I'll do that then. So nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to speak for Canadian Immigrant magazine. And
same here. Thank you for making time.
You're very welcome. So let me know if you see my...
Yes, all is well. Yes.
Sure, lovely. All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to be speaking on 3 communication strategies that create opportunities. And I was inspired by what Alma was saying, and you could see me nodding. I'm especially interested in tone and how a person is perceived. Excuse me. I'm known internationally as a pronunciation coach, a soft skills trainer, and a diversity strategist. And we're going to focus on the idea of strategy. I was invited to be part of a book by Trish Mandeo called The Growth Strategies for the Hungry Entrepreneur. She asked me to create a chapter on communication. And that's where I live. I live in finding ways for a new person to Canada, or even someone who's been here 10, 20, 30 years, to have more success and feel more confident. So strategy number 1 is ask for help. And if I ask my clients and followers, they have always asked for help. So let's look at this a little bit carefully. The right way. So what's the right way? The way that most people ask for help is, could you please correct me on my English? How's my English? They're checking in. They're trying to ask for that kind of help. However, it's not always working. And I'm going to say, does this work, or does it create a problem for someone? And does the Canadian culture or the American culture, if you're working there, allow an adult to correct you, right? That might be getting in the way. And is there a risk that you might not sound like a professional if you ask for help, or you ask for help too often? So I know when I was working in French, I was a French immersion teacher for a few years, and I was hesitant to ask someone about phrasing, specific phrasing for things that I wasn't so familiar with, because I didn't want to look like I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, so do this instead. This is the strategy. The sentence is, would it help me to move up in my career if I, and then you put the suggestions, joined a public speaking club like Toastmasters, took a business writing class, got pronunciation coaching, things that you're thinking of, got your PN, got another certification in healthcare, things like that. Would it help me to move up in my career if? And then we need to know, what does a strong yes sound like? If someone is in agreement that this would be helpful, they will say, that might help. And so we might think that the might indicates 50-50. Oh, maybe, maybe not so important. But no, the Canadian is actually saying, yes, I'm so glad you mentioned it. I was embarrassed to say, this would be good. I didn't know how to suggest it. So, that might help. It's probably a very strong yes. And they might even say, what would be better? I like your idea of Toastmasters, but what might be better is, and to take just one small course that's not so related to your field. Say you're a doctor and they suggest a course in something less. Take that as some advice that maybe it's speaking about your topic, that is confusing for Canadians. So if you're with a whole pile of people that are speaking on the topic, you have that chance before it's really important to get yourself up to speed. In Vancouver here, the engineering group suggests get a tech position, even though you're a hugely qualified professional in engineering, just so you get your feet wet, you get in there, and you don't have all the responsibility of that larger role. In Canada, you need to know that correcting another adult is a major taboo. It's almost impossible to say to another adult that their language isn't strong. We can correct up to about 8 years old. And after that, we actually don't correct on language. So unfortunately, that leaves you with important questions that are not solved, right? So strategy number 2, accept feedback. And we're in positions where we're going to be giving feedback, right? When you're coming in as a professional. So the accepting part, I'm not necessarily that good at accepting feedback. Accepting it gracefully. At one point, someone asked me, "Are you coachable?" And I said no. And I didn't actually understand what they meant by coachable. It was sort of a thing. And that there was only one right answer at that point. And I didn't realize that yes, I'm coachable. What's your feedback? I had no idea. So if someone says, "Are you coachable?" Maybe say, "Oh, do you have a suggestion for me? You know, I would love to hear it, but maybe after the meeting." Or maybe it's not the right time for you to hear that kind of feedback. So number 1 here, avoid saying, "but in my country." That really damages your opportunity. Okay, let's look at why. Canadians here, "That's dumb. We're smarter in my country. I don't like you. I don't want to be in Canada." If you say, "but in my country," especially if you've been living here for a long time, because we think that Canada is your new country. So the strategic answer is, thank you. You're getting some feedback. It may be feedback it hurts you, you don't want to hear it, and you don't agree. So take a deep breath. I'm not good at this either, but take a deep breath. Say thank you. And then say, "I'm so glad you told me. I didn't realize. That's so helpful. And this is a biggie. Tell me more." Because at that point, the thing that hurt you might actually not be the thing they were trying to tell you. And it's in the more that you realize, oh, they liked the presentation. They needed me to address this issue, and I missed that opportunity. But something like that. So thank you. Tell me more. Very strategic. Use it. Strategy number 3, get training. We might think that getting out of a book is a great idea. It can be when it comes to soft skills and the communication. And Alma was talking about intonation, so important. Online is really helping. So the woman that's getting the coaching online can see the body language, or maybe she's giving the coaching and she's suggesting the body language at the same time, giving lots of visual clues. You need to get training that will lead to your goal. And I've mentioned some strategies a little bit earlier. Canadians value lifelong learning. We have long evenings, we fill them with classes. They could be sports, they could be art, but they can also be professional development programs. Our language is difficult, so we practice getting better as professionals. Most training is paid by yourself. It's paid by the individual. So sometimes people say, "Oh, Catherine, are you free?" And I'm not free. At my level, I'm not free. There are a lot of really wonderful free programs available in Canada, but some of the best training will not be free. So the Canadian government helps the employer to pay for soft skills training. So here comes the strategy. Number 1, ask your employer to provide training and get the grant from the government. See if they can do that for you. Number 2, ask if your company has some funding available. They may have a portion set aside, or they might even create something for you if you suggest something that will benefit them through your improved work skills. And then number 3, pay for your own training. Do it. It will help. And talk about it and put it on your LinkedIn, put it on your resume that you have these extra courses. Again, soft skills training, try to look for that. This is the link, and I'm going to put it into the chat, that has the soft skills training funding. And it's from my website, so you get all of the provinces across Canada. And I've separated it out so that you can see it clearly. I'm going to ask you to stay connected with me. I'll put that in the chat as well. You'll learn. I have a monthly webinar that might be of interest to you. And this is my contact detail page. So I'll put that in the chat, and I look forward to talking to everyone.
Catherine, thank you so much. Fabulous presentation. We'll come back at the end with a general question for everyone and the Q&As that come in. So our next speaker is Murthy. And Murali writes the career coach column for Canadian Immigrant. He's done this for many years. So if you go to canadianimmigrant.ca and just go to the careers, you will find a lot of his articles actually very, very useful. So quickly about Murali, he is an acclaimed public speaker, life coach, and best-selling author. He is also a chairperson of Camp Networking Canada. Murali, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
So, my first question for you is, you've been focusing on networking and especially on digital networking in making connections in a number of columns that you've been writing for Canadian Immigrant. Can you speak to its importance? Why would you call networking a soft skill in the first place?
Okay, a brilliant question. You know, Ramya reminds me of the Simon Sinek book, Start with the Why. So let's do it that way, you know, the why, what, and the how. You know, so why are we talking about soft skill? Why are we having this panel right now? Most of the audience here would be looking for a job or to start a business or something. In any job you look for, there's going to be competition. There are going to be hundreds of people applying for the same job you do. Think about it from a recruiter's point of view. If you have an MBA degree, so do 100 others. That's a hard skill. If you know how to operate a machine, so do the 100 others. If you know how to do UX design, so do the 100 others. A soft skill helps you stand out. You need to learn how to stand out. The other thing is, the second point is, with lot of jobs getting automated, you know, lot of things that you and I can do can also be done by robots. It's a soft skill that can't be replicated. And so it's very important for you to invest in yourself and develop a soft skill so that you can stand out in the marketplace. You know, Ramya, I always say this, your ability to do a job well, you know, that's what on your resume. Your resume can never capture a soft skill. A hard skill knocks on the door. It's the soft skill that opens it. So the list of soft skills would be, Ramya, communication, absolutely. Interpersonal skills. Communication would have empathy, listening, and so on. But let's say broadly, communication is a soft skill. Interpersonal skills, creativity, leadership, and some of the point that Catherine and Alma mentioned, collaboration, teamwork. And so these are all the soft skills. Now, if you look at it, you know, 2 years back or 3, even last year, you know, I call it in 2019 BC. BC would be before COVID. We had the same event in a live forum, Ramya. All of us, me, Catherine, Sujoy, and Alma, we are all there. We would interact with people, we would shake hands and everyone. People would walk into the booths and the stall. What did we do, Ramya? We did networking. We did, and what were the skills that are employed? Ability to communicate with clarity, with self-confidence, look people in the eye, shake hands. So if you look at it, networking is very much a soft skill because that is exactly what we have been doing to build a connection. So that answers the question of networking is definitely a soft skill, including communication, listening, empathy, collaboration, teamwork, and everything. And we also discuss why you need it so that you can stand out in the marketplace in a world where many jobs are getting automated. Soft skills are also called transferable skills. Your ability to deal with people applies in any job, in a bank, in an IT company. I often say this, even if you work for a dog food company, you need soft skills because dogs ain't coming to buy dog food. The owners have to come to buy dog food. So whatever your industry, communication, teamwork, creativity is a very good soft skill. Your ability to say, hey, why don't we do it this way? Or we can do it this way. And so that's very important. Now the last part is, so we covered the why and the what, Ramya. How do I develop a soft skill? And I think Alma and Catherine spoke beautifully. I remember a point from Catherine's presentation where she said, but in my country, we don't do it that way. People may not see it, but I see it in their body language. You know what they say? They say, but I'm not comfortable doing it. People believe the fact that they got a degree or they got certified and that's it. And so they're in the comfort zone. I always say this, get out of your comfort zone, get into the excellence zone. You got to step out. This is 2020, we are in the digital forum right now. People also have to develop. I think we should do a talk on soft skills on the Zoom era. On the Zoom era, you can't be eating. You may be a great IT programmer, but if they call you for a video interview and you're munching a burger because the interview was set at 12 o'clock, that's a bad soft skill. Not having your video on is a bad soft skill. Making sure there are no pets or family members or anyone going in the background, ensuring that there is no echo, the background noise and images are clean. These are all soft skills. And so life is always about constant development. Okay, constant investing in ourselves. I would recommend that people have to take investing in their life constantly. And I think it was Alma or Catherine who said that, Catherine who said it in Canada, lifelong learning. Isn't soft skill development, shouldn't that become lifelong learning? For instance, if everyone who's attending this call, why is it that 4 to 5 of us are on this call? Because they must be good at soft skill. One of the things you want to remember is nobody was born with it. We learned it. So you want to consciously invest time to invest in soft skill. One thing is to get out of your comfort zone and start talking to people on Zoom or whatever. Okay, I don't know the language. That is secondary. Communication is listening, empathy, problem solving. That's a soft skill. You are paid to solve a problem. So when you communicate with people, listen to like here, we listen to the question and then we're answering it. Another way to develop your soft skill is interacting with people, like I mentioned, is also reading a lot of books. Okay, it's no coincidence that our good friend Sujoy has a stack of books behind him. And I'm sure he did not apply to the Canadian government and said, soft skill development, I want to buy books. He invested it in those books himself. That is why he's a soft skills leader. I would recommend, if you can go to Chapters, Indigo or Amazon, or I could even recommend thriftbooks.com for affordable, cost-effective books. Invest in books, read a lot of books. That can develop a soft skill. A book can be a very good friend. To sum it up, a soft skill is very important. It's communication, interpersonal skills, leadership, creativity, time management, your emotional intelligence. I think Alma mentioned to remain calm and composed in any situation is a soft skill. All right, it helps you stand out. Your soft skill can never be duplicated. That's a very unique you. And all the best, but soft skill should be a lifelong development, and that is what will make you stand out in the marketplace. And it's definitely networking is a soft skill.
Great, thank you. You've covered a lot of my second question actually, but one little element that happens a lot with immigrants is when an immigrant has taken a survival job or a job that's not in line with their expectations, and they're looking for a more appropriate fit. What approach would you like them to take in this case?
Okay, very good point. Since we are in the Zoom era and we can't even meet people personally, I totally respect the fact that you've taken a survival job, but you might be working 10, 12 hours. Even if you work 2 survival jobs, that's 18 hours of work or whatever, you still have some time left. There is something called social media. I think we should all know that social media is a great leveler for soft skill development. And so I would recommend, it is not a badge of honor, guys, to say, oh, Facebook is not my cup of tea. Please get out of that. Every organization that you want to work for, I normally say this, when people say Facebook is not my cup of tea, I ask them, where do you want to work? And they would say RBC, IBM, whatever. I say, look up their website, look up RBC or BMO, sorry. BMO is sponsoring us. If you look at the BMO page, they are Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the whole gamut of social media services. It's in the double standards. The company you want to work for is in every social media platform, but you are shy of it. So get off that feeling of insecurity. And like Catherine said, we haven't done it before. No, get out of your comfort zone. One of the things, Ramya, to answer the question is, While your survival job is respected, it's what you do outside of it will get you the job. Because if you don't watch out, you'll be stuck in it for years. There are strategies on how to apply which soft skill on Instagram, on Facebook. I would recommend everyone, there might be multiple platforms, have one primary platform. For me, Ramya, the primary platform is LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn to establish myself as a trusted authority. So, guys, you want to make note of this term. Wherever you are, be seen as a trusted authority. Canadian Immigrant is a trusted authority that is guiding Canadian immigrants and empowering Canadian immigrants. That position in the mindset is very clear. You can take the trusted authority position on LinkedIn, share articles about your industry. Maybe you're in healthcare or pharma. Study what's happening, look at the trends, share that post, maybe write a blog, maybe do a video interview. There are umpteen opportunities to keep developing your soft skill, and guess what? Some recruiter will pick you up. The keywords, you will show up in those Google searches. The next job you apply, while I had a survival job, I was doing something, taking my life and my industry forward through my soft skill enhancement on LinkedIn or Instagram. And that proof is enough, Ramya, to get your foot in the door.
Great. Thank you for that. Murali, thank you so much. Our final panelist speaking today is Sujaykumar Vardhmane. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Sujay?
That's correct.
Okay. Sujay is a professor of human resources at Sheridan Pilon School of Business. With a passion for helping other newcomers, especially in the field of employment, he is a sought after keynote and a public speaker. Welcome, Sujay. So my first question to you is, in addition to appropriate hard skills, what soft skills can help your chances for success in career progression?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ramya, and thank you, Canadian Immigrant, for inviting me to speak to this wonderful audience. Welcome to all of you who are attending this panel discussion. We've had some great speakers before me, Alma, Catherine, and Murali. They've given us some valuable tips. I've noted a lot of them, so I've learned from them as well. And what I'm going to share is my perspective. Feel free to take it for whatever it is worth. So I think the most important thing to start with is all of us as newcomers need to understand the context we are operating in. Understand that the context here is very different from the context in the countries of origins we come from. And therefore, we've got to approach this context with what works in this context. So that's the first thing, orient yourself to the context. The second important point I would suggest is the attitude and the emotions that you bring into this whole job search situation, the phase that you're in. Be willing to unlearn what you have learned in your country of origin and be willing to learn what this country has to offer. People have, like Catherine Lightry pointed out, things like back in my home country doesn't go down very well here in Canada, and she's absolutely right. I would build on that. What I would also encourage you and invite you to do is call Canada your home. It's a big emotional change, and call the place you were born in my country of origin. Once you call this country your home, you are choosing to make that emotional transition, and everything will flow easily from there on. So it's the attitude you bring that's extremely important. You also, in your interaction with people, be seen as one who is part of a solution, not part of a problem. You're willing to learn. You're here to solve a problem. You're not the problem person. And these are important first perspectives that happen. The other point is you've got to demonstrate you're adaptable. You've got to demonstrate your ambition, your motivation, and your enthusiasm. Murali mentioned maybe you're in a what do you call a survival job, but you're willing to use the extra time that you have to either write a blog or write an article or network with people. That's demonstrating your ambition and your enthusiasm. So keep that going. Always keep in mind, opportunities will come. Don't be fixated on a certain line of approach or a certain job only. Look at an opportunity, assess it, pivot, and make it work to your advantage, because that's how you learn and you grow. And I think Catherine rightly pointed out, and Alma pointed this out too, in terms of perseverance and grit. That's again something that is visible. You will go through difficult times. Do not misunderstand that as a end of the road. That is a stepping stone to success. You also need to be ready for an emotional roller coaster. Your first 1, 2, 3 years will not be a bed of roses. It will not be a walk in the park. It'll be up and down. And like Alma and Catherine both rightly pointed out, it's the grace with which you carry yourself that people will notice during these difficult times. And that grace will also give you a lot of confidence and help you adapt to this new place, and you will grow as a person.
Thank you so
Another
much.
point I want to bring about is what is called cultural intelligence, right? And very nicely pointed out by all the speakers so far. Canadians are not very direct when they give you feedback. It's a very subtle way that they give you feedback, and you must pay attention to those subtleties and understand that what is the meaning of something. As simple as someone may offer you a chewing gum to have, and you may think, why are they giving me a chewing gum? Probably they're talking about some kind of personal hygiene that they want you to improve upon. And that's something probably in some of the countries that most of us come from, people may directly communicate that, but here it's very subtly communicated. And I think an important transition that I would encourage you all to be prepared for is the diversity that this great country of ours has to offer. And with that is a responsibility we all have to create an inclusive culture for us and for everyone. What that means is very simple. We all come with our biases, conscious or unconscious. That biases could be because of a gender, because of a perceived view of power equations between genders. And Alma very aptly pointed that out. Or it could be religious biases or ethnic biases, whatever it is. I think we've got to unlearn those biases and be fully aware that this is a very diverse place with what I would say is a very inclusive culture. We have a responsibility to create that and help everyone who comes after us from across the world to feel welcomed and feel at home. I think Murali pointed out aptly to things like collaboration. Alma pointed that out too. I would build on that and call that, what I call relationship buildings. We must have what is called a growth mindset and a global and an open mindset. And the way we do that, building those relationships, is by investing a lot of time in listening, in observing, and learning from each other, and also giving back in our own way. And finally, the most important skill you must keep in mind is your ability to influence and make an impact in people, because that is when they're going to hire you for your next job that you're looking at. So Ramya, these are some of those skills that I think have helped me, or I've learned from other people as well. So just wanted to thank you and wish all the participants, good luck, and happy to answer any questions that you or others have, Ramya.
Thank you so much. Really great information. So next up, I'm looking at the time. I'm going to pose one question to each speaker, and then hopefully we'll have a chance to get to the Q&A. So if you have any questions for Alma, Catherine, Murali, or Sujay, feel free to use the chat function. So Alma, let's start with you. Given the situation with COVID, we're having to develop digital soft skills. So how do you think we can respond to the current opportunities?
Well, I will start with saying that you're not alone. We're all in the same boat. We were trusted into this virtual environment, basically with no notice. And for a while, I felt it was, Rami, a sink or swim situation for a lot of us. But believe it or not, this was more than 8 months ago. So by now, I feel that we're all developing the digital skills that we need to be successful. And I think we are ahead. So when the situation started, so we're becoming now more proficient with Zoom, with Microsoft Teams and other platforms, and practice makes perfect, right? So I think we're also we're more lenient, we're more tolerant. We hear a dog barking in the background, and and people start talking when they're still muted. I think we all understand because we have been there ourselves. So I will say to people, launch yourself into the digital era. There's never too late. I recorded my first podcast a few weeks ago. And when before I didn't like to turn on the video during the calls, now I feel it's a must because we're human, we crave connection. We need to see how people respond to us. So I would say embrace the situation and try to make the most out of it.
Thank you so much. Catherine, same question.
I'm going to have to do something that I encourage everyone else to do is if you don't know what the question is, ask it. What did you ask me? Sorry, can you repeat that?
So sorry. So we're all having to develop skills during COVID because we're all digital. So one piece of advice, how can we respond to the challenges?
Digital challenge. I agree wholeheartedly with Alma. The video, although it's intimidating, when you get back to live connections, live interviews, you will be much stronger because you have had this practice of things not connecting well, having to look professional on a camera, or have it disappear on you, and then suddenly it's an instant phone situation, which we hate, all of us, to do a phone interview. So actually use it as an opportunity to practice. For example, if I turn off my video, can you understand me? Do you still get enough information? So I encourage you to turn the video off with friends and practice your listening skills so that you're really ready to go when an interview is possible for you. So best of luck to everyone.
Thank you. So Murali, do you want me to repeat the question or?
Yeah, sure. There was also another question in the Q&A box. I thought I would answer that one as well. So repeat your question, then I'll answer both the questions. Yeah.
Feel free. I haven't seen the Q&A box, but essentially I was saying, given that we're at COVID, in the COVID situation, what is one tip that you would like to give people to get over any challenges they're having with digital soft skills? You know, what opportunities can they see?
Here's an example. In an ideal situation, I would be standing, but I don't want to overdo it. This is the line I always say, high energy, high income. Why do I say that? If I open my tap, will you come and watch me, the water flow down? Because I myself wouldn't go and watch. But isn't that what we do in Niagara Falls? It's water flowing down. Why do we, the whole world goes there? High energy and we'll do anything. So like Catherine said, keep the video on. In fact, I would say higher energy, higher income. On a Zoom, you can do this. You can use your hands, expressive eyes, look into the camera, you're talking to them. Those kind of things. They say that eyes are the heart to the soul. That doesn't require any digital skills. Once you're on, it's what you do with it. Bring your energy and your passion into the Zoom meeting and you can impact people here or in Vietnam. That was the answer. I hope I answered that. There was a chat box question and that said, how do we add soft skills in a resume and LinkedIn? I would like to take a minute to answer that. On LinkedIn, under your profile, there's a section called skills and it allows you to add 50 skills. You might be very good at SEO design or your IT software or QuickBooks accounting. But soft skills, if you just type the word TEAM, it'll show up a whole slew of teamwork skills. Teamwork management, teamwork leadership, take that. LEA, leadership, COM, communication, it'll show up a lot. And so these are the soft skills I would recommend you add. The more soft skills you add on LinkedIn, the more endorsements happen, the more your Google rankings go up. So it's very important on LinkedIn. On your resume, the recent, Ramya, the recent article we actually mentioned, don't just say, manage the team of 20. That's what people do. They're too lazy. They just say manage a team of 20 doing what? Or deliver 20% growth. Deliver 20% growth by streamlining operation, by interacting with clients, by meeting people and by managing staff in a time conscious manner. Something like that. Elaborate on what you did. Nobody wants to know what you did. What you did is a hard skill. How you did it is a soft skill.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to encourage everyone to go to our website, canadianimmigrant.ca. You will find a lot of Murali's advice and columns. So Sujay, it's your turn. One piece of advice about how to, given the situation with COVID, how do we develop soft skills? How do we, what approaches can we adopt?
Good question, Ramya. And I think our panelists have answered that very eloquently so far. So I'll add to that thinking. The way I see it is, as a newcomer to the country, our goal is very simple. We want to land a good job, which means if there was no COVID, how would we go about it? We would go about it with a lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm, and to quote Murali, with a lot of energy. Right? So this is the core. The methodologies, the processes, the tactics we use in a non-COVID world or the pre-COVID world was different. The methodologies we would use in a current COVID and post-COVID world could be different. But the key elements are the passion, the enthusiasm, and the energy that you bring in. That should not be diluted. If you keep focusing on that, the tools, the techniques, the technology platforms will all become easy to assimilate with and get used to. So don't worry too much about those platforms. You'll figure it out very quickly if you haven't done it already. But keep the energy and the passion going and the emotion, and that's where your success will come.
Thank you. Very inspiring. So I'm looking at the time here. Unfortunately, we have not a lot of time no time actually for the Q&A. But I'm going to suggest that everyone send your questions either directly. Sujay, Catherine, and Murali have shared their contact. Or, if you haven't taken it down, or questions for Alma, just send it to us, info@canadianimmigrant.ca, and we will direct those to the speakers. I also encourage you to go to canadianimmigrant.ca so you can see a lot of the advice and information we've provided that our excellent columnists have shared with us. So thank you, Alma, Catherine, Murali, and Sujay for taking the time to speak with us today. This has been really insightful. I wish we had another hour to have you speak, but we'll wrap this up for now. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Bank of Montreal, our platinum sponsors, Immigration Consultants of Canada Regulatory Council, our gold sponsors, British Council IELTS and the Toronto Region Conservation Authority, our silver sponsor, Fair Grant Writing, Chatham Kent Living, CK, and Osgoode Hall Law School at York University, and all of our exhibitors. So please rejoin the fair, and you have just a few minutes, but rejoin and feel free to chat with our exhibitors who are here to help you. The fair is open till 4 p.m. EST. So, maybe if you get in, the exhibitors will continue chatting with you. And if you are waiting a couple of minutes or a few moments to connect, please be patient because there are a number of people chatting with the exhibitors. So once again, thank you from the Canadian Immigrant team. So I'm Ramya, and my colleagues Laura, Ricky, and Sanjay are here with me today. And thank you to our presenters for an excellent session.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Ramya. Thank you,
Bye.
other panelists.
Thank you for the invitation, Ramya.
Murali.
Bye-bye.
Good luck.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.